40 days until the election. With 40 days until the election, there's still a huge debate over restrictive voter ID laws, which have been passed in 23 states over the past 3 years. And progressives cannot stand voter ID laws. They want you to believe that showing a photo ID, somehow minorities are being discriminated against. Here's just one of the reasons why a fair election is crucial. According to the latest poll conducted by Rasmussen Reports, the presidential election is at a dead heat, with President Obama and Mitt Romney attracting support from 46% of voters nationwide. 4% of the voters prefer a different candidate, and the other 4% are still undecided, with a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. So what's the harm in ensuring that legal American citizens are casting a vote for themselves? There isn't one. Just look at how easy it is to cast a vote for somebody else. And in this case, and we've shown you these videos before, the quarterback for the New England Patriots, Tom Brady.
So I just bring out the filled out forms. Do they need to come in they don't need to come in themselves?
Nope.
Thomas Brady can't come in. He actually broke his leg over the weekend.
Sure.
So that's not possible? Okay.
No problem. Yep, so you just have them fill that out. And then in the back, you can just, you fold it in half and like fold this over, and you can mail it.
Okay.
It would only be funnier if he was wearing a referee's uniform. But that's just one of the holes in our voting system. And just this morning, it was reported that an investigation uncovered 198 non-citizens were on the voter rolls in Florida. And that's just Florida. So who knows how many people are illegally registered across the country? Joining me now with more on what needs to be done to reform the voting process is Catherine Englebrecht, president of True the Vote. How you doing, Catherine?
Doing great, Andrew. Good to be back.
Well, last time we didn't get a whole lot of time with you, but this time it's just me and you on this. Your organization is now under fire from progressive groups. Can you tell me why?
You know, I think that's the question of the hour. True the Vote is about encouraging citizens of all parties to get involved in the process, to work at the polls, to make sure that our process has integrity. But there seem to be organizations that will go to extreme lengths to try and silence us. And it really begs the question, what must we be so close to that they can't give us any oxygen?
You know, one thing I don't understand is somehow this has become about Latino voters. For the life of me, I don't get it, because a majority of the Latin American countries where many of our Latin American citizens immigrated from have voter ID laws. Mexico has a federal national ID. Brazil is passing one. Venezuela has one. Chile has one. It's not like this is something that's completely being sprung on people out of the blue. And I don't mean to be cliche when I say this. To drive a car, stay in a hotel room, rent or buy a home, take out a library book, go see the doctor, go to school. There's pretty much not a whole lot you can do in this country without some form of photo ID.
You're exactly right. 74% of Americans, according to a recent Washington Post survey, 74% of Americans across all groups agree photo voter identification is reasonable. So, you know, what's the big deal? If we would spend a fraction of the time that we are arguing about this, just helping people get registered. In modern society, if you really don't have identification, you'd actually be a whole lot better off if you just went ahead and let your state give you a free ID. So, you know, what the cover-up is all about, I couldn't tell you.
My favorite thing is when progressives say there's no empirical evidence, and as if to say there's no massive, obvious, glaring, billboard-sized, effort to commit voter fraud. But we have seen Acorn. We have seen these videos of people who walk right in and say they're Tom Brady or Eric Holder or whoever it is. And the other day on the program, we had former Secretary of State for Ohio, Ken Blackwell, explain to us that you don't need a massive effort. All you've got to do is get involved in some districts that might be flipped by a percentage or two, and then you could flip an entire state like Ohio or Florida.
No, absolutely. You don't need a whole lot of fraud. You just need a little fraud in the right places. And there's no question that our system is porous. You know, it always amazes me, as you described, the debate that there's no proof of anything. Well, In the last 18 months, there have been prosecutions or convictions of vote fraud in 31 states. This is a problem, and the fact that we cannot have a civil discussion about this doesn't bode well for the future of this process, because it's very possible that these elections in November could come down, the presidential election particularly, to just a few hundred votes. And, you know, we remember what that was like in the 2000 election in Florida. We saw it in Minnesota in the senatorial with Al Franken and Norm Coleman. It can happen, and citizens must be prepared. I believe this year, voting's not enough. You've got to be prepared to step in and get involved in the process, because only through citizen engagement can we really assure that the process is conducted with integrity.